Hey, Cookster here, and welcome to another video. This video is part 2 of straightening this rear panel back here under my back glass that I straightened in part 1 of this series, where I had several dents across here. I had to fix them with my snatch hammer. I drilled the holes, pulled the dents out, welded them up, did all the body filler work in part 1, and I'll put a link in the description and a link up here somewhere. So if you want to see how we did all that, go watch that video. So in this video, I did the blocks handling and the guide coat work, but I did fast forward through most all the blocks handling. I didn't want to sit there and make you watch me do a bunch of blocks handling in real time. That gets boring. I know people get bored and they tune out, so I didn't make you do that. So if you watch my blocks handling videos before, you know you do the crisscross. This is your blocks handling stroke up. Make little X's. You can straight line sand in certain situations, like if you're working a body line or a crease. There are times to do it, but in general, you block sand, making the crisscross, the X I call it. The guide coat I use is Duragold. That's the powdered guide coat. They make guide coat in spray cans. They make this kind. There's all kind of brands. So use whatever guide coat you want to use, but please do not use spray paint for guide coat. Let me say it again. Do not use spray paint for guide coat. Spray paint ain't guide coat. Just don't do it. Just don't be cheap ass. Don't do it. Get some real guide coat. Yeah, just do it. Okay. So as I'm doing my blocks handling work, I am going to fast forward through most of it. But you will be able to see on screen what I'm doing. If I get to an important detail or something I want to stop and tell you about, we'll stop. I'll tell you about it. I'll show it to you. You don't have to turn this thing completely black with guide coat. Just get enough on there so you can see what you're doing. Alright, let's get to it. 180 here. So all the areas in black are the areas we got to work on. So, and also I got a couple of runs in my primer, a couple of 3 or 4 or 5. So, but that, that's neither here nor there. But like anywhere you see black, like that's orange peel in the primer. But these areas like here, these are a little bit low at the moment. Down through here, even over here on the side, a little bit low. Now I got body filler in here too, if you watch that video. But we're concentrating on the center. So a little bit low at the edges here, or a little bit high in the center. A little bit, either a little low, or again, it could be a little high. That's a run. We'll sand that out. Again, a little bit low-ish through here. That's another primer run. A little low right there. That's a definite little low spot right there. And of course, maybe even high in the primer. And we'll walk around. There's that same little low spot. And then we come across here, a little low down at the edge right there, a little low. Now here's a low in this body crease area right here. So that's just a pass across the guide coat to kind of show me what we're working with. Now we'll start the actual work of sanding. My goal when we're sanding here, once I start cutting down to either metal or the black epoxy primer under this, hopefully I can try to stop. I don't want to cut through my epoxy primer into metal. It's going to happen, but I'm trying to do it as little as possible. Alright, right off the bat, we got several areas we have to worry about. Got a low spot right here you can see in the guide coat. Got a low spot right here you can see. Got a low spot right here. You can see that right here at the bottom of the crease. And we got this area right here that's really wonky. Got a low spot and a low spot, and this is going to be a high spot. So this corner here and this one, and here's a spot I already cut through, which I didn't want to do. But I did it, so it happens. Alright, I'm starting to cut through into the black epoxy right here. I still got a little guide coat showing right here and a low spot. So let me sand a little more and see what I can do here. Alright, I got this area where I'm happy with it. Gonna move on over here and work a little further over now. Got this low spot right up here we got to work down. A little low there and a little low there. Alright, we're starting to cut through into epoxy here and here, but we almost got this sanded down. Just let's see if we can get, let's just keep at it. Now this area is gotten, it's almost blocked out. It's very, very slight. Another coat of primer might do it. Okay, so we got this much. It feels good across here. Now we'll come over here and get this corner. The little area right here I'm not real happy with, but it'll also block out. It's very, very, very slight. It'll block out. This corner right here where I put the filler in, you can see me having to block into this filler right here. And I'm doing that to get it to look, to block out where I want it. Alright, everything I've done so far feels really good. Let me bring you in close and show you what we got. Alright, this is what I blocked so far. This is the spot that we're starting to cut through here. This is the spot that was a little bit high and a little bit low, so we blocked that out. This is the area I was a little bit concerned about right here, but it's just almost blocked out. So primer will fix that. Then we had this area right here. A little bit of low right here still, but primer will also fix that. And I started blocking into my body filler corner right here. And you can see this crease is a little bit wonky, for lack of a better term. And it is, but I will start blocking this. That'll be a different video. And get that straightened out. But where the panel comes across is flat. I blocked all the flat area right in here, and this feels really good. So let me switch over and block that half of this area here. And then the first blocking for the rear panel will be done. Alright, I'm real happy with this area right here now. This is where I had that big run. So I blocked that down, I blocked the run out. You can see there's no more guide coat showing. There's a decently crisp black line here in the guide coat. The run's gone. I did sand here quite a bit. One of the questions people ask a lot is, how do I know when to stop sanding? When do I quit? And the simple asshole answer is when it's straight. And all jokes aside, that is true. But like in this case, I was straight long before I quit sanding. But I knew I had a run here, so I had got this primer here really thick. So I wanted to sand as much primer down as I can. I don't like to build up primer any thicker than I have to get the job done. So I wanted to sand it down, and I quit when I started to cut through here. That's basically when you want to stop, if you can. When you start cutting through to either metal or epoxy primer or both, that's kind of your signal to stop sanding. So I kept blocking in through here until I started to cut through. So we're blocked over to here. Now I'm going to come on across and do the same thing over here I did over there. I want to block it out of here and block down to the flat as much as I can. And then this area here will be done. We had a spot I had to block down through here. It was a little low or a little high right there. Blocked that down right here. That was a little high or a little low right here. And then I blocked down into here. And I had an area of concern right here wound up being, I got a couple of pinholes. You can barely see them. There's one there and one there. So I blocked that. At first I thought I had a big low spot here, but it was wound up just being some pinholes. And the filler's a tick high. And that's why you block sand. That's why you prime and block sand. One thing I want to point out to you, see how this line here between the guide coat and the primer is pretty sharp, pretty even across here, and then over there it changes. This is what you're looking for, kind of a nice sharp line on your body creases. This is pretty straight across here. Even though I haven't blocked into here, I have blocked this part of the crease. Whereas over here, see how this is kind of mushy, not sharp, not a nice sharp line. That's how I know that's low, and I got a little bit of it still in through here. This is where I'm talking about, I think primer will build this up and fix it. Like, I can't feel this with my hand. If I could feel it, I'd have to put glazing compound in there. But I think we're good enough where one more priming and blocking will take that out. But this panel here that we straightened because it was wavy from the factory, this thing is straight. I'm gonna prime it again. We gotta block it again, at least once more. Probably gonna block it 2 more times. But I'm gonna get ready to prime it again, we'll block it again, and then we'll go on from there. As far as the rest of this area, the panel above this panel, I'm gonna go ahead and block this. I gotta block this crease. I cut through here a lot while I was working this primer, and I cut my epoxy out and re-epoxied it, so there's a lot of work to be done on blocking this crease. But I'll run the camera, and if I hit some highlights I want to show you, I'll show you. This corner here is a separate video, so don't worry about not seeing this. I'm going to show this blocking this corner in a separate video. Now, one good thing about blocking this body line right here, once we get out of the filler work, the body line all the way across is straight. It was never bent. It's a little wavy, and that's the reason I'm blocking it so hard. Plus, I sanded on it and ground on it a little bit and did some work to it up here, so I'm blocking this line real carefully, but it's straight. So I'm using that to my advantage. I'm not having to work the line to be straight. I just want to make sure it's not wavy. That may not have made a lot of sense to you, but maybe it did. But anyway, that's what I'm doing. All right, I'm sanding, I'm rolling my block back so I can kind of sand with the edge of the block so that I can roll it into this crease right here. And of course, when I want to go back and sand the flat spot, I just put it back down flat. Now there's another area here we don't want to ignore when we're blocking, and that's this crease here where it rolls over, this body line crease, or any crease, but this one specifically for the window here, you want to run a block over this corner right here. It sounds dumb or sounds crazy, but there's orange peel in this primer, and if there's any little ripples along here, you want to block that stuff out. So very gently, I don't mean getting there and bear down and sand the snot out of it. Just very gently go in here and knock it down. And there's another reason too, especially when you're spraying high build primer. They call it high build for a reason. That stuff builds up fast. And you prime this thing, I'm going to prime this probably 3 times. The coat I already sanded off, one more, another 180 blocking, and then another one at 320. And then after that, after the whole truck is done, or the whole cab is done, I'm going to prime it again and block it one last time. So there'll probably be 4 coats of primer of high build sprayed on this cab, and all these little nooks and crannies and small spots and spots you don't think about, that primer builds up and it gets thicker and thicker and thicker. And thick primer is not good. One day it'll chip off. Even these 2Ks. Now for some reason I seem to have a bad luck with this 2K primer getting overly thick, and then one day it's just chipping off on me. I don't know if that's just me or my technique. I grew up spraying lacquer primer. I never had that problem with lacquer primer. But anyway, so always get in here and sand these little nooks and crevices and crannies down and get that buildup out of there. Plus you want to block them and make sure they're good and straight anyway. So that's all I'm doing here, is just making a very light pass. I'm not sanding hard. I'm not trying to cut all the primer off. I'm just sanding it. You know what I'm trying to say. I think you do. I've got epoxy primer under here, so I see when it starts to cut through. If you got bare metal, it's the same thing. You'll see it start to cut through. Then you can stop. But at least knock it down. It needs to be done that way. I'm not going to block further around that corner. That's a different video. I'm just getting this back section here straight. Alright, that's done for coat number 1. You just watch me cut it down. The guide coat almost immediately got sanded off, which means we're good and straight. Had a couple little areas that I had to sand on some. Kind of in here, maybe down here. You'll see them in the video. You can go back and watch if you want to. Where I had to do a little extra sanding to get it straight. But you can tell by this line here now. This is not a sharp, crisp line, and it shouldn't be. This corner rounds over. And there's still orange peel in the primer, but this is a nice straight, I'll use the term crisp, but it's probably a better word, line for this, which means if you go back and look at my first pass, there were some places where it was kind of wobbly and orange peely and a little low, and that's definitely was indicating it was a little low. Looks much better now. This is basically, straight as we can get it. I want to stop for a second and show this spot here, which is clearly low. You can see with the guide coat, it's not sanded out yet, but everything else around it has. And I noticed that too in the wet primer. You can believe me or not, I saw the very small little low. It's very minor. You have to really look for it, but I saw it in the wet primer, so I knew that was going to be there. And I primed this area extra thick, so I had room hopefully to block that out. So I'm still blocking now. I did start to cut through already up here, so I'm going to block as much as I can. Why I didn't get that out in the first blocking, I don't have a good answer for that. You're probably asking yourself that. I should have saw it. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. I don't remember. It happens. I'm not perfect either, by any means. So I'm going to go ahead and keep on blocking that, and either I'll block it out or I won't. If I can't block it out, I have to fill it with glazing compound, and I don't want to do that at this stage. We're at the stage now where I should have things straight, but these issues do happen. That's why we're here blocking. So I'll keep working on that, and we'll see where we come out. Alright, I have blocked out 90% of this. There's still a small amount of it right here. I'm not sure how I missed that. That's a pretty good low spot. I'm really not sure how I missed it. You see I had to block it pretty hard. I blocked down into my original earlier coats of primer here to get it cut down. The black you see is the epoxy primer cutting through, showing through. Also, I had to block really hard right here on this area. So don't block in this one spot and ignore the areas on the side. You got to block back into these areas too, or you'll sand a ski slope. Way exaggerated, of course. You know, you got to work your areas way back. You know, keep everything straight and on the same plane and all that stuff. And I'm pretty happy with it now. So I'm just going to keep on blocking the rest of it. And when I reprime, if I don't find any other problem areas, I'll just reprime this one area really heavily again and block it again in 180. Can't call it done yet. It's still got a little bit of orange peel, a little bit of low right there. And I went ahead and knocked it out in the primer. I don't like the primer with guide coat. That is very subtle now. I could probably leave it, but I know it's there. It's not perfect. I want to straighten it. But now I'm going to go ahead and take the edge of my block like I showed, and I'll roll the corner of my block in this crease, and we'll block this body line crease out. Alright, that side over there is done. We'll flip around and do this side. Alright, as you go back in the video, there's a little area right here that's still a little bit low. I got probably 80% of it blocked out, 90%. I'm going to work this crease above it, and that'll help. And then, as I said, when I reprime this area over here, I'll reach over here and get this area too, just to give it another good strong blocking. Alright, my second pass of priming and block sanding is done on the center area here. I do have this area here in the middle I want to rework, so I'm going to prime that. We'll block sand that again. So that's the next step, so hang on. Alright, I just sprayed primer on this corner. Not a heavy coat, just enough to see it. And I don't know if you can tell on the camera, but it looks really good. It's got a good shape to it. I don't see any bumps or lumps. The areas we feathered in here now look really good, so I'm happy with it. There's the rear panel I just reshot. Don't know if you can see it. It looks pretty damn straight. But I am going to block the center section again. Here's another really good way to see what you're working on. I've got a diffuse light over here. Use light to your advantage. So I'm scrolling along the panel using the light, you know, the glare. I'm looking in the camera lens at the moment, but I don't know if you can tell it or not, but looking down the side of this panel, it looks really straight. It looks really good now. That low we just sprayed was right along in here where I had to block it yesterday. Alright, I primed this rear section again. This will be the third blocking. I'm going to block it with 320, and this should be the last blocking and get it good and straight. So just sit back and watch. That blocked down real nicely. I do want to show you the remnants of this one little area right here. This is the area I've been working that was low the whole time. Still got a small amount of it here, but this feels very straight. But I do need to keep blocking until I get the rest of this primer cut on down, and I'll just keep blocking that across here. I'm almost done with it. Hopefully I won't cut through again. Seems like I may be about to start to cut through right here. But this now is very slight. I'm going to go ahead and finish blocking that out, and we're going to call this area done. But look out for areas like this when you're doing your project. You'll find these low spots that sneak up on you that you didn't know were there, or you missed, or whatever. And you got to work them down. And luckily for me, mine will block out. If yours won't block out, wipe it with either put some filler on it if it's bad enough, or you can use glazing compound. Alright, that got it. You notice I'm being a little bit slower and a little more deliberate with my blocking strokes. That's because I'm just working this area that I wanted to work. So I know where it's at. So I'm just kind of concentrating my work, slow and steady. And it's blocked out now. And I can certainly feel that it's very, very straight, very smooth, very straight. 320 will really let you see or feel how good and smooth it is, or not. If it's not good and smooth with 320, you got something, you got some more work to do. Alright, here you can see this area right here I'm working. See how it's not quite good and crisp under the body line? And I had an area right here that it's about blocked out. But it does need to be blocked on down so it looks, get the guide coat, to look right. And then, or the primer to look right, whatever, however you want to put it. Alright, I finished blocking the two panel areas. Now here I'm going to block the crease. Use the edge of my block like I've been showing you, just kind of roll this paper down to the corner of this crease. Alright, from here on over is done. I gotta do this corner right out here. I guess I'll let the camera run, but this is all fast forwarded anyway, so. Alright, this back section here is done. So as far as priming goes, I'm going to prime it one last time, and I won't touch it again until I get ready to paint it, whenever that winds up being. So let me get set up. I'm going to shoot one final coat of primer, and then we'll be done with this video and this work. Thank goodness. Yeehaw. Alright, so that's the end of the video. So 3-4 good coats of block sanding and guide coat. Got this panel good and straight. I'm really happy with it. It looks very straight. I've eyeballed it down the side with light, and I've got the glare and the wet primer. It looks really good. I'm not building a show truck here, but I am trying to get it as nice as I can do it. And that's what I'm striving for. So obviously this work was on the back panel of my C10, but you can do this same technique on any panel you want, a door, a roof, it doesn't matter. You can skim coat any and every panel you want. That's how the show car guys do it. They skim coat pretty much the whole car and block it down to make sure every little ripple and wave is out of it, especially if they're painting it like a black or a dark color. Not saying you have to do that. I don't say I would ever have to do that. I certainly have not skim coated every panel on this truck. This panel was wavy enough, and I had to do the body work in about 4 or 5 different spots, and I don't like the body work into waves that are just wavy. So it just made sense to me to skim coat the whole damn thing, get it flat, and I can make a video on it while I'm at it and do the show car straight type video. So that's what we did here. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you learned something. So if you missed the metal work and the body filler work, I wanted to see how I got to the point where I was at when I started the video, go back and watch part 1. And again, I still want to say I'm getting more comments and more likes, and I appreciate all that. It helps me out a lot, helps the channel out, helps it grow and all that good stuff. And you know, so keep doing it, and we'll keep moving forward and keep growing. So with all that being said, be sure and do all the YouTube stuff. Like, comment, subscribe, notification bell, share it around your buddies, your enemies, ex-wives, girlfriends, all that stuff. And I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Happy dent repair, y'all. Go make, fix, do something. Bye.